Hey everyone, welcome back to Cop Meets a Homestead. It is finally time to start my seeds. I have actually put them off for an entire month. I can't believe it's already April, but this whole morning all I wanted to do was like watch something and do the seeds, and I completely forgot about the Rachel Hollis live premiere that Savy's doing. So I figured I'd have that going while we plant some seeds that desperately need to get planted today. Because I really want to hear what Savvy has to say, but I really need to get some stuff done. So, kill a couple of birds with one stone. And of course, I'll be pausing Savvy so I can explain what I'm planting. Like right now, even though we're about to start in a couple of seconds. I've got a tray of the Jiffy Start 72 puck greenhouse from last year that I had like stashed around. And I also have these guys that I bought late in the season, too late to start. So they are the Mr. Fothergill's strawberry red and white mixed. So I can still plant them. I mean, I'm planting peppers today, even though technically I'm a little behind, but we have great warm weather here in the Okanagan, so I'm hoping, due to the fact that we've got great warm weather, it's hopefully going to like go well into like late September. But I've got a bindweed problem underneath my peach bush. Well, not peach bush, nectarine tree. So I've figured I'd choke out the bindweed with these. But let's get into what Savy's doing.
I can't say it all, but I don't claim to be an expert. Today we are going to start off by being a little goofy. We're going to be a little goofy and have fun. Because today's video is going to cover some more serious topics. So let's have fun at the beginning at least. Today we're going to be doing an update and talking about some things while I put on some makeup for future videos. The bag I got for this makeup has
that is super cute
on it. And then the little pulley on my keychain.
The bag is super cute, guys.
Edgeworth from Ace Attorney.
Don't worry, I'm linking.
The makeup itself is Animal Crossing. So it's just all my favorite Nintendo stuff right here together. I've run a poll on my Instagram story to see if people wanted me to cover the stuff going on with Rachel Hollis and her rescue dog. I know in the past I said there wasn't enough information, but she posted an Instagram TV story thing where she basically gave us the information. So now I can talk about it finally, now that there is information out there. So people said they wanted it, so you guys asked for it. Hey y'all, editing savvy here. I just want to let you guys know that I am going to have to break this video into two parts because as I was working on this video, more and more shit started happening. Like, she just was digging herself into a deeper and deeper hole, you guys, and it's like, if I tried to cover it all in this one video, it would not be in-depth enough. Like, it just would not have been the quality that I wanted it to be if I tried to rush to get the whole thing out for this Monday. So I know a lot of people have been like sending me screenshots and sending me other people's Instagram stories and stuff and being like, you know, when are you gonna cover her TikTok where she went off on this huge rant and just kind of lost it and was gaslighting her fans and acting racist and shit. And dude, it's coming this Friday. So this Friday I'd originally planning to review the Tony Robbins conference. However, I'm not done with that video, so I'm going to bump that to next Friday. And this coming Friday, I'm going to do an in-depth breakdown of that entire TikTok and other people's responses to it. I'm going to shout out some creators that have done some fantastic responses already, give my thoughts, give my breakdown, all of that. So stay tuned for that video. Today's video is going to focus specifically on the rescue dog situation and then also on the weird like Instagram story LGBT thing. We're going to talk about all of that, the like performative fake LGBT community activism. We're going to talk about that. And then the TikTok where she went off about, you know, having a housekeeper and just what a what a mess that was. That will be coming Friday. We'll do a much bigger breakdown of all of that shit. So please stay tuned. Thank you for your patience. I greatly appreciate it.
I wish I had a housekeeper.
Now, today,
we're gonna get into that.
So first of all, check out my sweatshirt. This has DJ Wrigley on it from Forever Home Friends. That's my small business. I'm a rescue dog person. I've got Chewy. Chewy is the light of my life. In fact, the small business that I run is based on rescue dogs, right? The business that I run produces books, plushies, toys, and other merch based on real rescue dogs and their journeys to adoption. This sweatshirt I'm wearing right now is actually a new piece of our merch. It has my art of DJ Wrigley on it. Wrigley is the dog who loves music, and because today we're talking about rescue dogs, and I'm wearing my new Wrigley merch, today I figured I would do makeup in Wrigley's color palette. So in the book, Just Me Wrigley, she has a combination of blue, purple, and yellow. Those are kind of her colors. So for the blue part, I'm going to use the ColourPop Blue Moon palette. For the purple, I'm going to use the Animal Crossing La Belle of the Ball palette. And then for the yellow, I'm going to use the yellow shade from the Isabel palette. We'll see how it turns out. Like I said, we're starting off goofy today, so enjoy this little somewhat raunchy version of my theme song that I made. Do it.
Get you some nuts.
My girl comes twice a week.
They're gonna lick some nuts. Hold up. Spit in my mouth.
What's up, my fellow small business supporters? I'm Savvy. Welcome back to my channel, Savywrites Books, where we talk about books and business. Whenever we do an update on Rachel Hollis and the hot mess that is her company, that always combines a couple of those elements because she wrote some of the books that I've reviewed on this channel, including Girl Wash Your Face, or as I call it, Girl Wash Your Ass, or as RK and I call it together, Girl Wash Your Brain. And now, because as you guys know, my business is all about supporting rescue dogs and helping with the idea of adoption being forever, I have some shit to talk about. However, as you guys know, I do like to take as much of a nuanced take as possible when going through everything. So what I'm going to talk about is going to be as multifaceted as possible, and I'm even going to talk about some of my own experiences with adopting rescue dogs and what that's been like. So today's video is not just going to be like a slam dunk takedown. There's going to be a lot of a lot of empathy going on there as well, but I think you guys have kind of come to expect that from this channel. If you're new here, don't forget to subscribe. Every Monday and Friday at 11 a.m. Central, I put out new videos about books and business. And don't forget to subscribe to the second channel as well, because every morning at 8 a.m. Central, RK and I stream live on the podcast and live stream channel where we talk about living our life as various business gurus. Past summer, Rachel Hollis, author of Girl Wash Your Ass, Girl Stop Plagiarizing, and other hits such as Didn't See Your Mom Coming. Rachel Hollis, that author, got divorced from Dave Hollis, her husband, who was a Disney executive. If y'all have watched this channel at all.
By the way, I love all of your renditions, Savvy. If you were watching this, Savvy, I fucking love them all. Girl, wash your ass. I didn't see my mom coming. You know, that bullshit. That is great shit. I love that shit, honestly. I really should be wearing my Rachel Hollis shirt, but I just washed it, and I don't want to get it dirty.
You know this shit already. In fact, most of you probably found my channel from the video I did about her divorce, considering, like, my channel grew the most after that video. Thanks for subscribing, y'all. After her divorce, right, she adopted a rescue dog. That dog's name was Wit, and she was super cute, dude. She was super, super cute. And I actually loved that. Like, people were sending me stuff about the dog in my DMs, and I was like, dude, this dog is cute as fuck. Like, I'm not gonna snark on her for adopting a cute as fuck dog. Like, what do you think is wrong with me? I love dogs. So, I was all about this rescue dog. She was taking the dog on runs, seemed to all be having a good time together, and then all of a sudden, the dog just kind of disappeared from social media. And people were kind of like, where's Wit? And then from there, a little Instagram page popped up about it, which I don't think I can screenshot because I'm pretty sure they left Instagram. I don't think they exist anymore. And an Instagram page popped up called Where's Wit? And the purpose of this page was to basically, whenever Rachel would post something, be like, where's Wit, yo? Because the dog just wasn't, no one was seeing the dog on social media. Like, when she first adopted the dog was all over her social media. So people were starting to worry, like, girl, did you just adopt this dog for clout, and then when it got too difficult, you gave the dog back? And, you know, people were hitting me up about that to be like, Savvy, since your business, you're like a rescue dog advocate, like, you should comment on this. And I was like, well, I can't, because There's no information about it yet, but now there is information, so now we're going to talk about it. So what happened was finally, since she had been getting so many questions about it, she addressed it on this Instagram live stream that she put up the other day. And I will say I'm glad that she addressed it. I think it's very easy to hide from criticism, and we know that she's been doing that a lot lately. So I've got to say I do commend her for actually answering the question. And when she talked about what happened, I had a lot of mixed feelings about it. Part of me is incredibly disappointed in her for what happened, and part of me is pretty angry, but another part of me is empathetic and understands and knows that it's more complex than just that. So we're going to talk about that all in detail. Let's take a look at her live stream.
You want to know how you get ahead? You want to know how you can be the most productive and the most effective? Do the things that only you can do. Can someone, could I do the dishes? Yes. Can I scrub the toilet? Absolutely. Can someone else also, so that I can spend my time doing this live stream, writing a book, recording a...
Okay, but shouldn't your housekeeper also then be doing the things that only she can do? And if she's better at cleaning the house than you are, great. But why are you acting like you're also good at cleaning the house? Maybe you are, but it kind of refuting your point. It seems like, why isn't she doing the things that only she can do? Or is she doing that because only she does a better job cleaning? Need to be a little clearer here because this sounds a little self-centered.
The podcast, which is the stuff that only I can do? Yes. So, that's what we do. My girl comes twice a week, and she is the
Okay, in
most
context, that makes more
love
sense.
her, and she, makes...
My girl comes twice a week. Hey, it's a better rate than Ben Shapiro's got.
And I'm so freaking over a society that tells women that they're supposed to have it all by themselves without complaining and look beautiful and not have stretch marks and have a perfect body and fit into this narrative. I call BS.
That's fair. I would call BS on that too. However, do you apply that to Pam? Why did you shame Pam?
Poor Pam.
Does Pam have the right to eat whatever the fuck she wants?
Pam should have her goddamn pizza.
It's garbage. Okay, I'm going to say this one time because I keep getting the questions, and I feel like people had a really crazy thing, but I just want to answer it, and then I want to stop getting questions. So, last summer, I adopted a dog. And...
Okay, here, she's going to address it. The way she framed it was kind of rude, where it's like, oh my god, you guys, why do you keep asking about this? Because you have a lot of dog lovers in your audience who were concerned for the dog's well-being. Instead of being annoyed, why not just be like, hey, I appreciate that you guys care so much about my dog. Let me tell you guys what happened. It's just the framing of it's weird, but go ahead, girl.
And I adopted her, and I had her for about a month, and she had really severe anxiety. And she ended up going back to the family who had her before me. I tried for a month, and then Sawyer got hurt. And then when Noah got hurt, that was the end for me.
I'm going to finish hearing her out about everything here, but then we're going to go back and break it down phrase by phrase, because I have a few issues, but there are also a few things I'll give her credit for. So just stay tuned.
And she was the sweetest, most wonderful girl, but she wasn't the right fit for our family, so she went back to the family who had her before us. And the reason I didn't talk about that publicly at the time was because I feel like there's a lot of opinions about dogs with anxiety. I feel like there's a lot of opinions about big dogs and sort of dogs that look a certain way being mean or whatever, and I just didn't want to publicly say that and then have people be like, I knew it, those kind of dogs, blah blah blah, because it's garbage. So I just didn't tell the story, but then there's a handful of people who keep aggressively being like, where's the dog? And she wasn't the right fit for our family because Noah's still too little to be in a situation with a dog like that. So that's where she is, but she's living her best life. And right now, I got Jeffrey over here. I'm dog sitting for Dave, so everything's good. So it was sad. I was really sad because I got her because I didn't want to be alone in a house by myself when the kids weren't here. But guess what? I remember that I'm a grown-up and everything's fine, and maybe someday I'll get a dog again. That is the dramatic story.
Way to make it all about yourself. Let's go. Let me first share my overall opinions on this, and then we'll break it down piece by piece, okay? Because there's some things I have a huge problem with here, and some things that I think are acceptable and fair. Let's talk about it. So, basically what Rachel said was that after her divorce, she adopted a rescue dog because she didn't want to be alone. And then
She could have got a cat.
She has 4 kids, and it sounds like, you know, one of the kids, I think her daughter Noah is like 3 or 4 years old. She's pretty young. So it sounds like one of her sons, who's, I don't know how old he is, he's older than her, one of her sons got hurt in some way with the dog because the dog was, I guess, too rambunctious. The dog was too big, too anxious, and then her young daughter got hurt, and she was like, this isn't safe, you know, I need to prioritize my kids. I'm going to give this dog back to the family that I got her from. I want to first touch on the point about her dog having severe anxiety, because, as you guys know, I have a dog. I have Chewy. A lot of people on this channel love Chewy. He's a little sweetheart. He also has severe anxiety. Sometimes when you get a rescue dog, because you don't get to raise that dog from birth, and sometimes rescue dogs you can get as a puppy, but sometimes you'll get a rescue dog, you don't raise them from birth, so that dog, you don't always know their history. You might know from the previous owner or from the shelter or whatever that the dog might have anxiety or the dog might have some difficulties, right? You need to take that into account before you adopt. I have had some really difficult things that I've gone through with Chewy, and I want to be as open and upfront as possible, right? So you guys know that Chewy was one of the inspirations for me to start Forever Home Friends, because he's a sweet boy
Just
who
smacked
has
Yuri
a
on
lot
the
of
butt.
anxiety, and the fact that, you know, I also struggle with anxiety in the form of OCD made me feel like Chewy and I had something we could relate on, and it kind of sparked this whole idea of dog.
Oh, shit. No! This is not what I wanted.
No matter
There we
where
go.
you go, no
Fuck.
matter what you do, make sure like
Hurry!
comment on this, and I was like, well, I can't because there's no information about it yet, but now there is information. I think her daughter Noah is like 3 or 4
Close
years
enough.
old. She's pretty young. So it sounds like one of her sons, who's, I don't know how old he is, he's older than her, one of her sons got hurt in some way with the dog because the dog was, I guess, too rambunctious. The dog was too big, too anxious, and then her young daughter got hurt, and she was like, this isn't safe, you know, I need to prioritize my kids. I'm going to give this dog back to the family that I got her from. I want to first touch on the point about her dog having severe anxiety, because, as you guys know, I have a dog. I have Chewy. A lot of people on this channel love Chewy. He's a little sweetheart. He also has severe anxiety. Sometimes when you get a rescue dog, because you don't get to raise that dog from birth, and sometimes rescue dogs you can get as a puppy, but sometimes you'll get a rescue dog, you don't raise them from birth, so that dog, you don't always know their history. You might know from the previous owner or from the shelter or whatever that the dog might have anxiety or the dog might have some difficulties, right? You need to take that into account before you adopt. I have had some really difficult things that I've gone through with Chewy, and I want to be as open and upfront as possible, right? So you guys know that Chewy was one of the inspirations for me to start Forever Home Friends, because he's a sweet boy who has a lot of anxiety, and the fact that, you know, I also struggle with anxiety in the form of OCD made me feel like Chewy and I had something we could relate on, and it kind of sparked this whole idea of dogs and humans have a lot of parallels in the struggles that they go through, and if we tell a story from a dog's perspective, make a little plushie friend that people can connect with, that might help kids understand empathy and the way to apply it to both humans and animals, because we have a lot more in common than we might realize. So that was the initial idea and mission behind that. So Chewy also has really bad anxiety. When he was younger, he was shot in the face with, we want to say birdshot, we don't know for sure because the pellets were already fully embedded under his fur when we adopted him. He was 2 years old when we adopted him, and he had already gone through a lot of trauma. He struggles a lot to get to know new dogs. He has his own, I'm not going to go in depth about every issue he's ever had, but he's a sweetheart, and he has his own issues that we have had to deal with hiring trainers. That's worked a lot, and then also just me and Tyler, the two of us, working with him on individual skills. And I'm proud to say, you know, Wrigley, the dog on my sweatshirt, Chewy and Wrigley have been best friends for 2 years now, and that took a lot of, you know, work in getting them together and all of that. So that's my background with Chewy. There have been times when Chewy has had an issue here or there with something that will suddenly break me. It will break me because I will become like, oh my god, I started a business about rescue dogs and my dog just did something wrong, or my dog just had an issue. And then I'll like suddenly break down and be like, I'm a fraud. Like Rachel selling the marriage conference before getting divorced. I feel like, how can I be a rescue dog advocate when my dog has issues too, and it'll just kill me. I'll be like, one day someone is going to expose me or something. And then I remember that I never claimed to be a dog trainer. I claimed to be an advocate for, finding a trainer and rescuing a dog and things like that. So that's actually inspired me for one of the things I'd like to do in the future with Forever Home Friends is to maybe team up with a trainer or team up with someone to put together some training resources on our website and on our blog and things like that. So that's kind of a plan for the future as I continue to expand it. But that's enough about that. My point is I understand where the difficulty with a dog with extreme anxiety comes from. And I also understand that when you adopt a rescue dog, you don't always know their full history. You don't always know what's going on. And like for me, I don't have any kids, so it's a little bit different for someone who does have kids because I'm able to prioritize training Chewy. I don't spend any time raising a kid. If Chewy has any kind of issue, there's he's actually when he meets kids in the neighborhood, he's very sweet with kids. But he likes to jump, so we always have
Be right back. Gotta grab soil. And we'll talk. Ooh. Hi, you. Come on. In the way. You're not in the way. You're... Get my seed starting mix. So what we are doing next is the pepper round. I've got purple peppers. This variety called Chocolate Beauty. They are from West Coast Seeds. From OSC Seeds, I've got the Hungarian Wax in hot. And then I've got these Sweet Assorts from Mr. Fothergill's. So we'll get Savvy back talking and we'll get back to planting.
Talk to the kids' parents ahead of time, and he usually doesn't jump on kids because they're more like at his height level, so he actually kind of appreciates that. This is beside the point. Anyway, what I'm trying to say is that I don't have the exact same struggle Rachel has here. I don't have kids, so for me, raising Chewy, I've been able to focus more on him and his development as opposed to worrying about a human child whose needs are very different. Now, I know I've talked about being a dog mom and things like that in the past, but I want to make it clear that I'm not a person who thinks that human children and animals, like dogs and cats and all of that, I don't think they're exactly the same. I think they're the same in the sense that when you commit to raising one, it should be a lifelong commitment. And I think that they're the same in that you need to show them empathy and things like that. However, they have different needs, obviously, and the way you will approach a difficult situation with them is going to be incredibly different, right? So I went off a couple months ago on this channel at Micah Stauffer for giving up her adopted son and giving up on him, and I came at that from the perspective of I'm a person who's been adopted. So it's a really big thing for me to have someone treat their adopted children and biological children differently. When it comes to animals, part of me feels the same way where I'm instantly like, no, if you adopt a dog that is a lifelong commitment. I mean, I have a company called Forever Home Friends. It's about being forever. When you adopt a dog, that's their forever home. You're not supposed to give them back. However, I think that there's a difference in the sense that, with a kid, animals can adapt, like dogs, personality-wise. As far as I know, I'm not an animal psychologist, but as far as I know, animals can adapt easier to changing homes and changing families. Their period of adapting to it is much shorter. They're able to bounce back a lot quicker. Like, we're actually Chewy's third home. We adopted him when he was 2 years old, and he'd had 2 homes before us. And he adapted to us within like a couple weeks, and while he still has trauma, he still has anxiety, there are still things that are going to be unpredictable about how to handle every situation. He adapted pretty well and pretty quickly. It's completely different with a child, right? I don't think I need to explain that. So I don't necessarily think that she is an awful person and has traumatized the dog for life, and I'm not going to say that's the problem. However, I will say I'm incredibly disappointed, and let me talk about why, and then we'll go through and break it down piece by piece. She brought up this point about how her dog is a bigger dog, and how her daughter is just too young to play with a dog that big. It's just not safe. You knew how young your daughter was, and you knew how big the dog was when you adopted the dog. So why would you suddenly be like, she's just too little for this? Like, why didn't you, before adopting the dog, I mean, maybe she did take her children in to meet the dog ahead of time and play with the dog, but it's important to test out. It's important to not just go pick up a dog and go home. Like, when we adopted Chewy, we had a phone interview with the shelter. We met him at the shelter in person. They brought him to our home, had him walk around. It was a longer process to determine, is this dog truly the best fit for this family? So I don't know if she did bring her kids in and it just turned out a bigger surprise than usual, but for me, it just seems like poor planning if the reason at the end of the day is my dog was too big and my child was too small. Like, you knew that before. Like, don't adopt the dog. You know what I'm saying? Like, I feel like she didn't go into this with the commitment that it was going to definitely be forever. Let's listen to what she says a little here, because I have some points to make about the specifics of each thing she says.
Okay, I'm going to say this one time because I keep getting the questions, and I feel like people had a really crazy thing, but I just want to answer it, and then I want to stop.
Okay, I feel like people had a really crazy thing. I feel like it's totally normal. Like, why are you blaming your fans? It's totally normal for your fans when you put the dog on social media, when you talk so much about how important this dog was to you, and then your fans, a lot of whom are dog lovers, got attached to the dog, and now you're acting like, oh, my fans have a really crazy thing about this. Like, I feel like it's just continuing to show a lack of understanding of how other people feel. But okay.
Getting questions. So last summer, I adopted a dog. And I adopted her, and I had her for about a month, and she had really severe anxiety. And she ended up going back to the family who had her before me.
Let's just look at it. Ben Shapiro would call it the phraseology. Let's just look at what she said right there. I had her for a month, and then she ended up going back to the family that had her before. She just ended up with them. This is just a continual problem I see with the way Rachel interacts with her audience, which is just like, this just ended up happening. Like, no, you gave her back to the family. Make yourself a subject of that sentence. She ended up going. It's like the dog just stood up and walked out of the house on her own and was like, nah, I want to be with the other family instead. Bye, Rachel. Like, that didn't happen. Just the way she phrased it. Like I said, when she wrote Girl Stop Apologizing, originally I wanted to give it the benefit of the doubt and be like, oh, this is just a book about how, like, women apologize too much. But, like, the more I watch, it's really clear that she just, like, literally doesn't apologize. But, okay.
I tried for a month, and then Sawyer got hurt. And then when Noah got hurt, that was the end for me. And she was the sweetest, most wonderful girl, but she wasn't the right fit for our family.
So I agree that, so not every dog is going to be the best fit for every family. And I can say all I want. You should have done a better job of testing if this dog was going to be the right fit for your family before you adopted her. However, that isn't always known. And when someone ends up in an unexpected situation with a dog, I can't totally blame them, because you don't always know. You don't always know what situations could arise, and at the end of the day, it is going to be better and safer for the dog as well as the humans for the dog to be in a family that's better. So I would much prefer that dog be with the other family if that is going to be what's most beneficial both for Rachel's family and for the dog. But the one thing that also concerns me a little is, like, we gave her back to the family. Like, the family that you adopted her from, like, I would assume they couldn't really take care of her either because why else were they adopting her out? So it's a little confusing. At the end of the day, I really would rather the dog be in a better home for her, and I would rather Rachel's family feel like they're safe and everything. So I'm not going to judge too harshly about this. I just feel the way she went about it was very, like, not taking responsibility when people were asking. Like, I feel like if Chewy suddenly disappeared from all of my social media and you guys wanted to know what happened to him, for me to be like, okay, people have just been crazy about this. People have just been asking you all these crazy questions. Like, that's just, it feels unfair to your fans to say that because you are the one who introduced your fans to this dog. I assume you wanted your fans to take an interest in the dog because otherwise why would you be posting pictures for your fans to see? So I just feel like it was unfair the way she treated her fans. I feel like she could have done a better job in planning with the dog. However, at the end of the day, do I think the fact that she gave back a dog makes her the worst person in the world? No, I think that those kind of things will happen from time to time, and you definitely do need to consider what's best for your family and what's best for the dog's well-being. So it's one of those situations where I can kind of see every side of it. You know, as a rescue dog advocate, for me it's all about a dog you're going to adopt forever, right? But in some cases it doesn't work out, and it's not going to be perfect 100% of the time. I do get really upset when I see specifically like elderly dogs going back to the shelter and things like that, and I get upset when I see cases where people who adopted the dog just clearly didn't prepare ahead of time, but it could happen to anybody, honestly. This situation is not going to be completely black and white. So those are my overall thoughts on the dog. I want to keep listening to what she says here. We're going to continue a little bit.
She went back to the family who had her before us. And the reason I didn't talk about that publicly at the time was because I feel like there's a lot of opinions about dogs with anxiety. I feel like there's a lot of opinions about big dogs and sort of dogs that look a certain way being mean or whatever. And I just didn't want to like publicly say that and then have people be like, I knew it, like those kind of dogs, blah, 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 because it's garbage.
Okay. So I agree with this, but I also think she went about it in a terrible way. So let's talk about Chewy again for a second. Chewy is a pit bull mix. We don't know his exact breeds, and as many people know, pit bull itself is not an exact breed. It's kind of like a family, right? Like, we look at dogs, you see the Dobermans, the Rottweilers, the pit bulls and bulldogs, the bully breeds, all of those. Those type of dogs do tend to get negatively stereotyped, and this dog is mean, this dog is aggressive. I've always been, a fan of the idea that it's not the dog, it's the human that trains the dog, I think a lot of certain types of dogs get stereotyped as aggressive because they have certain physical attributes that make them effective at dog fighting, so they end up getting bred for people who want to fight them, and then when they get rescued from dog fighting rings, they have trauma. So it's really not the dog's fault, and I really hate stereotypes against dogs. It's a whole theme in my book, Smile Chewy, which is the idea of prejudice against pit bull type dogs and things like that. I'm not sure exactly what type of dog Wit was. I think she might have been a Rottweiler or something like that. So she was a bigger dog, a more rambunctious dog, a dog that has some stereotypes against her. I get it. I completely get that. I think it's good that she wanted to protect against the idea that her dog's breed would get negatively stereotyped. Again, I get it because whenever Chewy's had any kind of issue related to his past trauma, I never want someone to be like, see, I knew all pit bulls were bad. First of all, Chewy's not bad, and second of all, pit bulls can be incredible sweethearts. So I'm always a little bit scared of that too. I completely get it. At the same time, you could have really used that situation as a way to be like, hey, I'm getting some questions about what happened to my dog. Let's talk about it, and let's talk about the fact that my dog's breed is not at fault for this. It's not about the dog's breed. It's about the type of circumstances the dog has been involved in. This dog has an anxiety disorder, whatever, and using that as a teachable moment or a way to educate. She has such a far reach, she could even have like an animal psychologist or a dog trainer on her show to talk about that and really educate the audience. I just feel like if she had been willing to take that personal responsibility up front, even, not making it her own fault, but if she'd been willing to take that up front, she could have really used that as a teachable moment for the audience, and it just seems like a really big wasted opportunity.
So I just didn't tell the story, but then there's a handful of people who keep like aggressively being like, where's the dog? As if I took.
Okay, yeah, that's the thing, dude. Stop blaming your fans. I just don't get this. I feel like she's often mischaracterizes what her fans are concerned about. Like, her fans who were concerned about the dog wanted to make sure the dog was okay. To be like, my fans were being so aggressive about this. Yeah, dude, you put your dog in your social media. You made this dog a character that your fans fell in love with. Like, if Chewy disappeared from all my social media, I would not try to call my fans aggressive for asking me about it. That's just mean to your fans, dude. I don't like that at all. I don't like that at all. The way she went about it, the way she blamed her fans, the potential situations that could have, the potential good situations that could have come out of this for dog breed awareness and all of that were really passed up. I just think it was kind of a messy situation.
So it was sad. I was really sad because I got her because I didn't want to be alone in a house by myself when the kids weren't here. But guess what? I remember that I'm a grown-up and everything's fine, and maybe someday I'll get it.
See, that's the thing, though. She's making this all about her again. She's like, I got this dog so I wouldn't be alone, but then I remember I can do fine being alone. And it's like, yeah, dude, we were worried about the dog's well-being, so, like, I just feel like it was a very self-centered way of addressing it.
It's just a nuts. My dog comes twice a week. They're gonna lick some nuts. Hold up. Spit in my mouth.
The final thing I wanted to talk about was an Instagram story that I saw her post today. At the time I'm filming this, it is currently Thursday night. When I saw this Instagram story, I found it very off-putting, and I want to talk about why real quick. I'm not going to show it because I'm not a fan of people putting their kids on social media for clout. And I definitely think that a lot of there's a generation of kids right now growing up whose parents are internet influencers and whose parents have become e-celebrities, and a lot of those kids might not want to be in the spotlight in that way. I don't know. It's entirely possible that maybe she's incredibly respectful of her kids and listens when they say they don't want to be in things, whatever. But there's a reason I found this particular post off-putting, and I just want to talk about it. I'm not going to show the story because I don't feel comfortable showing people's kids in the way that she did here, so I'm not going to do that. But what she did basically was one of her sons, I guess, was in a theater performance at school, and she took like a Instagram video of him and put it in her story of him showing off his like costume and makeup and things like that. He looked pretty uncomfortable in the video from what I saw. I'm not gonna project though, like he might have been totally fine, but she did have a little caption on it that's like, oh my god, he hates me for filming him right now, and it was like, then why are you doing it? So, and I don't know if that was a joke and he actually was fine with it, I have no idea. But basically she posted that thing of her son like showing off his costume for the school theater performance. And then immediately following that, she gave a talk on her story, and I don't know if this was supposed to be related to that, but it really seemed, based on the juxtaposition, it seemed like it was. She then went on about this thing where she's like, you know, if you're a boy and you like to wear makeup, that's fine, which I agree with. I think gender rules are bullshit. But she's going off about that, and I totally agree. And that seemed directly connected to her son because she had just shown a video of her son wearing makeup for a play. Unless this was just bad timing, I don't know. But then in that same story, she goes on and she's like, if you need someone to come out of the closet to, I will be your mom for that, I will give you a hug. And it's like, that's a really nice sentiment, but it really sounds like you're trying to say your son's gay. And that's like, can we just never speculate on children's sexual orientations, like, ever, please? That's really gross. And it just seems like, a really, unless her son looked at all of that and approved it, that just seems like a really inappropriate thing to say, and I find that incredibly disgusting.
Hey, Ivan.
It's possible I'm completely misinterpreting that, but as a person who's, you know, in the LGBT community and very involved in that world, it can be very dangerous to either start a rumor about someone's sexual orientation or out them without their consent. That's just unacceptable. That's like rule number one. So I don't know. And again, I think she probably wasn't trying to imply that, or maybe she was. I have no idea. But my point is, just don't bring that up at all. So I just want everyone to be clear real quick. I don't know if Rachel's son is gay or not, and I don't want anyone to speculate. Like, I don't ever delete comments, but if you try to speculate about it in the comment section, I'll probably delete that because I do not tolerate people treating minors that way. That's unacceptable. So let me know your guys' thoughts on this in the comments below. This Wednesday, I have my cover reveal for my book coming up, so I'm super excited for that. In the meantime, though, guys, don't forget to support small businesses. Don't forget to check out my Patreon supporters, linked in the description below. Don't forget to subscribe to the second channel, where tomorrow morning at 8 a.m. I'll be going live once again for the morning show. I'll see y'all then. Don't forget to support small businesses. Have a fantastic Monday. Bye, everyone.
Bitches and nuts.
Yay, bitches and
Girl
nuts.
comes
twice a week.
They're gonna lick some nuts. Hold up. Spit in my mouth.
Language I have not heard in a long time. But let's watch some Münecat and finish off the seeds.
They're the one ethical
Freak.
MLM? No, of course it's not.
I'm Savvy, I love you. Fuck balls!
No matter what you do, make sure life is happening.
You.
I
Fuck, we're
didn't
doing
see it
this
all,
again.
but I don't claim to be an expert.
Damn it, where was it? There it is. It was like right in front of me. That was like my wallet the other day. But yeah, look, seriously, my wallet the other day. I was like looking for it and it was like right in front of me the whole goddamn time. I was like, bitch.
Hello everyone, I hope you and your families are staying safe and well. Here's my
Motherfucking
on
cunt
Rachel
balls.
Hollis. Come with me down the Karen rabbit hole.
She couldn't resist the cake and then figured there was no point.
And some of them I knew exactly where the quote came from. I followed her everywhere.
Now, if I've learned anything from YouTube comments recently, it's if you criticize anyone, and I mean anyone, it means that you're automatically jealous of them. So, just to get ahead of all of those comments, I just wanted to say first and foremost,
Yes, I'm jealous of Rachel. I wish I was a motivational speaker to bankroll by the most predatory companies in the world, to parrot quotes that other authors have written and passing them off as my own in front of thousands of millions of impressionable women, just to inspire them to sink further into debt, whilst not acknowledging one iota of my own privilege. I just wish I was her.
okay, so now we've got that off our chest.
I work out every single day of my life, even if it's for only 15 minutes. But I do something every day. I'll like do push-ups. I'll actually physically push myself to do something with my body that feels hard because I'm like, oh, sis, you know, you did 50 push-ups this morning. Like, this meeting on Instagram is nothing.
Oh, girl, you're gonna have to run 10 marathons and lift a house to do with this video. You may have seen my recent deep dive videos on the MLM company Lulu wrote. The speech that Katy Perry gave to the screaming Huns, many of the Instagram pep talks that Deanne would give us about just being happy, and happiness is a choice.
It's a wonderful feeling to wake up in the morning and go, I can decide. I choose to be positive. I decide. I'm the one that can change things.
And I mentioned toxic positivity, the idea that you can just do anything that you want to in life, you just do it. You choose your moods. If you're upset or depressed, go on and bottle that up. Screw the cap on tightly. Just hide it so far up deep inside of you that you start walking funny. Well, Rachel Hollis seems to make money out of that kind of mindset, being the literal personification of that mindset. If you melted down all of the live, laugh, love wall decals in the whole world and morphed them into a 5'2" Caucasian woman, Rachel Hollis would be that. Why do so many people have those live, laugh, love signs? Are they forgetting to live, laugh, and love? Oh my god, there's no pulse. Look at the sign! Look at the sign! Oh, I forgot to live. I'm fine. And then I said, that's not a camel, that's my wife. in quarantine recently, I've ended up reading her book, Girl, Wash Your Face. I went into the book with an open mind. I'm going to be very fair on her. I'm giving my own personal opinions on her work and her general message. And if you agree or don't agree with anything that I say, then I'd love to hear it in the comments. I do try and read every comment that I get, but please, just please be nice. Anyone who has a different opinion on a subject to you has come to that decision because of the experiences that they've had in their life that has led them up to this point. So just be respectful to me and to other people. I'm here discussing this book because I find the issues that surround Rachel Hollis to be very interesting and how they affect the politics and socio-economic situation of our times. So, without further ado, if you've ever seen any of my videos before, you'd know that I like to go way too deep when I research any subject. And I have dug so far deep into Rachel Hollis that I am currently in her lower intestine. You can see the frustration and the contempt for her husband that she is hidden deep inside. I can see the green smoothie that she ate for breakfast, and I know what her farts smell like. She would lead you to think that they smell just like yours. But they don't. They reek of those horrible green smoothies, protein shakes, and privilege. But wait, what's that? Is that a whiff of morals? No. Before we get into the nitty-gritty, let's get some background knowledge on Ray Ray. Rachel Hollis was born a Pentecostal preacher, her grandfather also being a preacher, and lived a childhood watching her father speaking to his congregation, trying to uplift the lives of people through God. Rachel describes her childhood as traumatic in her book and during her public speeches. Her father had a temper and would punch the walls. He would ignore her unless she achieved something massive, and her parents were going through a divorce, and when she was 14, Rachel found her older brother after he'd sadly taken his own life after battling with mental illness for many years.
My parents' marriage was abysmal. Like, the entire time I was alive and they were together was abysmal. Dad has a really bad temper. So I'm the daughter of a Pentecostal minister, and we were that, like, everything looks perfect on the outside, and on the inside, you know, punching holes in the wall, screaming.
At the age of 19, Rachel decided she desperately needed to leave her family, and she graduated from high school early, started a college degree, and dropped out after 1 year because she'd landed a job at Miramax in LA.
I only went to 1 year of college. I think it's so neat that I have maybe garnered enough life experience that even though I didn't go through school, I have some wisdom to impart.
Rachel's LA dream was to become an actor, and as she says in her book, to meet Matt Damon and marry him. Instead, she met Dave Hollis. He was a Disney executive. So after 2 years together, they got married, and Rachel left her job at Miramax to start her own company, a party planning business. She ended up throwing parties for Bradley Cooper, Rashida Jones, the Karen, and Al Gore, and moved on to corporate events as well, even planning the Sundance Film Festival. During this time, Rachel also had dreams of being an author. She wrote 3 fiction books: Party Girl, Smart Girl, and Sweet Girl. Party Girl was a fiction based on her own life, focusing on the culture shock of an innocent virgin Christian girl moving to the glitz and glamour and raunchiness of LA to become a party planner for big-name celebrities. When she first wrote Party Girl, it was rejected by her publishers because they thought the book would not sell. They asked Rachel to add some sex, and she refused, so instead she googled how to self-publish a book. The book ended up being a huge success despite her refusal to add a little bit of filth. Rachel also set up a blog to prop up her party planning business as a bit of a marketing tool, but it ended up taking off on its own right, garnering 200,000 visitors a month. More and more women signed up to Rachel's online brand of lifestyle tips, style tips, and recipes.
Eggland's Best Eggs reaches out and they say, we want to give you $250 if you will put our eggs in your next recipe.
The blog soon became a bigger moneymaker for Rachel than the party planning. She decided to pursue it full time. Rachel uploaded a photo of herself in a bikini showing stretch mark with an uplifting caption about body positivity. And other women shared the post in their thousands and it went quickly viral. Other women started sharing their own bikini photos with their stretch marks and other imperfections, and she started a mini movement for body positivity online. Rachel loved the feeling of empowering women, and she wrote another blog post about her struggle suffering with Bell's palsy, which causes your facial muscles to paralyze, and it's normally caused by stress. Her publisher told her to take the picture down, thinking it would damage Rachel's image, but she refused. She said it was inspiring to other women to post her imperfections. Again, her audience was in love with the sentiment and began sending her messages and sharing their own struggles and stress with health problems. This is when Rachel decided she wanted to enter their self-help space. In 2018, Rachel wrote Girl, Wash Your Face, and mainly through word of mouth, the book made the New York Times bestseller list.
That Girl Wash Your Face is a New York Times bestseller. I did not think it was going to happen.
Her book was endorsed by celebrities including Drew Barrymore and Reese Witherspoon. And high off the success of Girl Wash Your Face in 2018, Rachel went on to write Girl Stop Apologizing in 2019, which also made the New York Times bestseller list. High off the success of Rachel's second self-help book, husband Dave decided to leave his job at Disney and pursue his own career in the self-help space, after Rachel had convinced him to attend a Tony Robbins conference, and it changed both of their lives. Rachel is now 37 and her media empire, along with Dave on board, is thriving. She has 4 children, ages 3, 7, 11 and 13, and she has 2 podcasts as well, one called Rise and another one called Rise Together, which she hosts with Dave as a sort of marriage counselling podcast. On top of that, Rachel and Dave regularly throw conferences themselves. For example, a weekend-long Rise event in Dallas sold out in only 2.5 hours. Rachel and Dave also hold marriage conferences, and she calls them getaway weekends. And one of them reportedly cost $1,795 per couple for 2 days in September. Hotel not included, no refunds. Every day before 8 a.m, Rachel gets up, works out, feeds the kids, does her morning Instagram/Facebook live feed with Dave, writes 5 things she's grateful for in her gratitude journal, and then hits the ground running.
And we had a 3 o'clock dance party today, and the song we all danced to was Don't Stop Believin' by Journey.
Great, an office dance party. That sounds like an awesome place to work. Call it the non-confrontational wing of the #MeToo movement, or Goop for Red State Women. Hollis is carving out a safe place for women who want to be strong and successful, but may be uneasy about saying so out loud, or even identifying themselves as feminists. Girl Wash Your Face is published under a Christian imprint and has sold most strongly in the South and the Midwest. Hollis's most ardent devotees are mothers and female entrepreneurs, many of them working from home. At the time of recording, Rachel has 1.6 million followers on Facebook and 1.8 million on Instagram. It's no question that Rachel has gained a huge following and has been massively successful in what she does. She has an unfathomable work ethic. But is her message a healthy one for all women? Let's have a look at the main subjects Rachel gives advice on in her book and in all of her work, and try to answer that question. Now, the first thing to note about Rachel is that she's not a licensed therapist, but she does believe that she's qualified enough to advise people on their mental health, and states things as facts that sometimes seem to be dubious at best.
If I told you that I know a way to rewire your brain for happiness, would you believe me?
No.
Girl, I've got you.
But to her credit, she does advise women to go to therapy.
Who goes to therapy? Wants to go to therapy? Think about therapy. Are you kidding me?
She also mentions actual mental health disorders in her book on page 5, and does advise people to deal with those serious mental issues with professionals and work through them properly, which is good. But she does go on to say that your sadness, and she makes sure to distinguish sadness from actual depression, is caused by you, basically. In the introduction to the book, the very beginning, a quote on the first page is, "The truth You and only you are ultimately responsible for who you become and how happy you are. That's the takeaway. It's also the first time, weary, that Rachel likes to call her fans her tribe, which just feels wrong. So I'm going to avoid using the word tribe for the rest of this video. But this is one idea that carries through the book, that also carries into her online presence, and that becomes her tagline: "We choose joy." She's even got it on a t-shirt. It does remind me of my journey into the world of LuLaRoe and the way Mark would just gaslight people and tell them that they're choosing to be upset when he'd come over with yet another failed launch. So in response to this, I think there's a lot of benefits to feeling angry. Like, if you sit there feeling angry about something, as long as you're a constructive kind of angry person, you can sort of get all of your thoughts in a line and decide what you want to do with the feeling. It might be having a chat, having a word with the person who pissed you off, or sorting the thing out that pissed you off in the first place. But if I just decided to dance to my favourite song and choose joy and try and forget about it, then the same thing's just gonna come back and bite me in the arse, isn't it? It's just gonna piss me off again, isn't it? So Rachel met Dave Hollis when she was 19 years old and working at Münecat. He was 27. She was 19 and he was 27. Can I make it any more obvious? They met in 2002 and married in 2004. So let's look at how this beautiful love story started, shall we? On page 44 of Girl Wash Your Face, should have it bookmarked here, Rachel describes seeing Dave for the first time. "In my mind, he turns around in slow motion. The memory illuminates when I first see his face. He smiles at me and reaches out a hand to shake mine. The moment stretches into infinity and then snaps back together like elastic. It speeds back up into real time." Rachel goes on to say that Dave has a lifetime of dating experience ahead of her, being 27 years old and she's 19, and she's also a Christian girl. And he never asked her age, and she also never volunteered the information. He asked her out on the first real date that she'd ever been on. She dressed up to the nines and he turned up casually, and they go to a restaurant, and then he goes on to say, "I hope you're not one of those girls who's afraid to eat on a first date." And then he proceeded to talk about himself for 2 hours straight. What a catch. But she let him talk about himself because she was so infatuated with him. She goes on to tell a story of Dave treating her like absolute crap for a whole year, being his booty call, and all the while she thinks that he's her boyfriend. Dave's friends call her the 19-year-old, and one day at a party, Rachel introduces Dave to someone as her boyfriend. Dave gets so annoyed at her that he says to her, and I quote, "You've never acted your age before, but last night it was like it was written on your shirt." And then they didn't speak for 2 weeks. He flirted with other women in front of her. He would go out with friends, get drunk, and not invite her, but he would call her afterwards after he'd got home for sex. She didn't believe in sex before marriage, but she eventually did it with him anyway, just to desperately keep a hold of him. Rachel basically spends the whole chapter just blaming herself for Dave's actions, which doesn't seem healthy. She just vaguely says that he had baggage, which made him immature, and then outright says that she just doesn't blame him for anything.
Wow, some of this stuff is gonna be so deep. Anyways, I've got most of my planting done. Yuri, Ivan, will you stop this? I've got to get something to eat. And yeah, I've got other things I also have to do. What do you boys do on your nutbags? So I will see you guys later, and I will link everything down below, also the seed companies I use. See you guys. Bye.